Hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal and it is Sunday and therefore this is our Soul Sunday broadcast, and welcome to everybody, whether you're here live with me right now or watching in the replay. I've got a slightly different angle of the computer because the sun is so strong up here that if I have my computer at the usual place, I'm going to be just have this halo, extremely large halo around me, and it won't look, I mean, I know it's fine. What have I got stuck here? Okay, we don't need that. By the way, tip of the day, feel free to write notes on removable tape and stick them anywhere like that to remind you of stuff. What I love about it is that you can keep them. And so anything that, comes up regularly, it's a great way of doing it. I'm trying to think what else I've got. Never mind, that's another broadcast. So, hi to everybody and welcome. I know it's been a tough 24 hours or 48 hours for quite a lot of people. So I'd like to just give thoughts and prayers out for Erin, who's having a really tough time at the moment, and sending her a big hug. Also to Jody and Lionel, who have had a difficult 24 hours as well. And I'm hoping that Lionel is out of pain to some degree. And I'd certainly appreciate any update you can give us on that. I must say that I've had an amazing 24 hours in lots of ways and a difficult 24 hours in lots of ways. And I'm going to choose to concentrate on the upside of that. Yesterday, Yvonne, my dear friend Yvonne, came to visit me. And that is the first time that we've had a one-on-one visit and catch up with everything. And we had about 4 hours together and it flew by. I don't mind telling you. But, I wanted to talk to you all about the awesomeness of friendship. And, I was going to do that as a subject today, but I thought, no, I have something else that I want to talk about today. But just having a good friend, there's really no doubt about it. It's a wonderful thing to have in your life. So I just want to give a heads up hello to Emily's World and welcome. I don't think we've met you before, but I could be wrong. Isabel, always good to see you. Jody and Sandy, good to see you as well. And Jeannie, hi, good to see you. And so everybody, I thought what I'd talk about a little bit today on Soul Sunday was a mind switch that I did today. And what I did, something happened and somebody sent me some stuff today that was upsetting. And therefore, I was in a great place for one moment, and then I read this stuff that upset me, and that sort of changed my mindset. And then I went, this is up to me, whether I hold on to this mindset or whether I just let it go and get on with something different. And so I asked myself, what do I need for me right now that would help me? And so this is a very selfish broadcast. And what I thought we would talk about is gardens. Now, I know some of you have got gardens and some of you haven't. But, today, in today's technology, we can all have gardens. We actually always can have gardens because we can have the gardens of our mind. And if you don't know what I mean by that, just for a second, close your eyes and think of a most beautiful garden. What does it look like for you? All right. And when you look at a beautiful garden, and I'd really like some input back on the feed here for those of you who are watching it live. And if you're watching it on the replay, what is a beautiful garden to you? Now, the reason I say that is gardens are as different as the people who imagine them. For some people, a beautiful garden is an old English garden. But, for some people, that looks crowded. For some people, a beautiful garden is a rose garden. For some people, a beautiful garden is a very well-maintained, trimmed garden with beautiful little pivot hedges around it, like a Versailles type garden. So it's all sorts of different things to different people. And I'm pretty sure that one of the things that gives Jeannie and York hope is when they go back to their devastated property where their house burnt down recently, and actually see flowers still growing. I'm pretty sure that that lifts their soul just a tad to see that. I wonder how many of you, and I'm going to turn my computer slightly, have enjoyed, too much sun, but how many of you have enjoyed watching my little indoor garden grow over the last few months? And, seen the experiments. And I'd like to suggest that growing a garden is a bit like growing your life. If you don't have the patience to grow a garden, then where will you have the patience to live life? If you can't deal with the ups and downs of growing a garden, how many of you remember I grew these beautiful vegetables and overnight the slugs ate them? And it's just like I spent 3 months, nurturing them only to give the slugs a wonderful meal. And so it's just like life, I think. It's like anything. We will have ups and downs, but enjoy the moments of pure joy. And, I was saying in the broadcast the other day, I got a bean. Now, how many of you know that was pure joy for me? It really was. And I loved it. And so I know that growing things, nurturing things, whether it's people or plants or whatever, gives me great joy. And I think you guys know that as well. And so the most important thing I can do whenever I get upset is to think about gardens. So here we go. Let's do some thinking about gardens. There is a Chinese proverb that says, life begins the day you start a garden. So in your mind, plant your perfect garden. It doesn't take very long if you're doing it in your mind. And give me some feedback as to what would you plant in your perfect garden. There we go. Jeannie's saying, my vegetable garden is small, but I love the herbs. Absolutely. You and I both, all right? Jody's saying, I love gardens with climbing ivy on pergolas, and I would love hydrangeas, irises, peonies, roses, and zinnia, among other things, with a water feature and stepping stones. So Jody, because you don't have that ability to have a garden, I want you to keep that vision you just gave me, because I'm pretty sure you have a picture of all of that. A garden with climbing ivy on pergolas, that you have hydrangeas, irises, peonies, roses, and zinnias, and the water feature. What does the water feature look like? And do the stepping stones go to the water feature, or do the stepping stones go around the water feature and onward? Right? So I want you to get that picture really clear in your mind. And whenever you get into high stress, be it that Lionel hurts his back again or whatever happens, I want you to stop and go, I need to go to my garden. And what I would really recommend you do, Jody, is walk the stepping stones, but take your time. Take one step on a stepping stone and then look around you and say, oh, I noticed the peonies here, but I didn't see that I have got the most beautiful impatiens lower down. You see, you will see things you didn't see on your first sweep. And then take another step and maybe look to your right and go, and look at that. It's a strange time of the year for primroses, but I've got them there. Right? And, just keep step by step and take the time. And what you will find is, because that will slow you down, that will also lower your stress level. Jeannie's saying things we have to replace are bushes, shrubs near the house. Big, mature, and comfortable and colorful. Yes. And, maybe you've got to wait another decade to get that back again. But I think as well, what you will have, Jeannie, is the opportunity to know what you're looking for because you know what you've really enjoyed. Maybe get something new that is beautiful and colorful for your new home. All right. So Jody's saying the stepping stones winding around the entire garden and the water feature. Well, I'm not sure yet. I'm pretty certain that you must have seen it in your mind. Otherwise, you wouldn't have mentioned it. What was the one in your mind? And by the way, it is interesting to see that, right? Because if you think about what water represents in our minds, quite often water is a representation of our emotions. So if you see thundering waterfalls, it's very different from a trickling little Buddha type, I want to say a Buddhist type water feature where the water is just literally flowing down a stone or something. Two very different things. All right, Jody says it was an old wine barrel that lit up at night with fairy lights. Yeah, and Jeannie's saying, I would go walking happily in Jody's garden. Yes, and I'm certain a lot of people would. And so, do you understand, though, in that split second, we can all walk in Jody's garden? And some of you are going, well, I probably would change this. I wouldn't have the stepping stones going all around it. I probably would have how many of you would have stepping stones that meander, that wind their way through the garden? All right, Beth is saying, my garden is jumping on my PC game, World of Warcraft, and farming my herbs and ore. It's a relaxing place where I can zone out and focus. See, everybody's garden is different. And that is what makes us all such magical people. I didn't realize until, I've got a lot of hair flowing today. I didn't realize until yesterday when Yvonne came to visit that I have two distinctly different gardens. At the front, I have all my flowers in tubs. And at the back, I have my vegetables and big bushes in the tiered garden at the back. And of all the days of how beautiful that all looked, this weekend was the weekend that my neighbor decided to come over and tear my one planter box apart, big one, about sort of 10 feet square, tear it apart for me and rebuild it. So what my backyard looked like when Yvonne came to visit. And I said, I need you to use your imagination here. Normally, this is tidy. And normally, it looks like this, and it was just like, but luckily, Yvonne knows me really well, and she's very adaptable. A garden is a grand teacher. It teaches patience and careful watchfulness. It teaches industry and thrift. Above all, it teaches entire trust. Hi, Samantha. Really good to see you again. Happy Sunday to you as well. And oh, that's interesting. Samantha's saying, by the way, I saw the site. You guys work so hard. You know something? We just love what we do. I really would have to say that, Samantha, one of the most important things in life is to find something that you love to do and do it. It's just a labor of love, and it gives you a reason to be. And it doesn't matter if you get paid for it or not. It's just a case of do what you love to do. And that's a very important thing. Somebody once said that gardening adds years to your life and life to your years. How many of you can imagine that in real life, whenever I need a break away from whatever is happening in my life, I take my cup of coffee and I walk to my outside garden. And I don't know if any of you saw my thumbnail for today. I just want to see if I can bring it up for you. But I've got a new plant that's come into my garden. And for some reason, this is my first year in my garden. So it is a year of, wow, I wonder what's in my garden. And one of the things I've got in my garden is this amazing flower. I think it's called a balloon flower because if you look above it, there is a balloon type shaped thing, but it opens up into this magnificent bell, and the bell is probably about this big, surprisingly large. And for some reason, for all the years I've been gardening, I've never had one of those, or I haven't had one that I remember having. And so what I'm trying to do is at least once a week is to put up a picture of one of the flowers in my little garden. And what I want you to see is that however small my gardening is these days, it's still giving me great joy and hopefully will continue to give me beautiful pictures. Gardens are not made by singing, "Oh, how beautiful," and sitting in the shade, right? Gardens take hard work and dedication and accountability and all those sort of things. Hi, Kez. Kez is saying, I like public gardens with lots of paths leading to different gardens with lots of flowers and lots of insects and large ponds with ducks and grass areas for picnics and benches to sit upon. Yes, how many of you love to go to a botanical garden? I am very fortunate. I live very close to Vancouver. I mean, within an hour away from Vancouver. And we have got some beautiful botanical gardens here. And we all can go to the greatest gardens in the world on our internet. And, this is what I keep trying to explain to people. In this day and age, we don't have the excuses. We have the opportunity. Whether you want to, you're saying, oh gosh, but I'm in lockdown and I can't do this. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can go to the greatest museums in the world on the internet today. You can go to the greatest gardens in the world. And in fact, I would challenge us all to take maybe half an hour sometime this week and visit a garden online. All right, so Jeannie's saying she's just moved into a new apartment, and she said, our apartment has benches all over where people can sit and relax with pets or with other people. Isn't that nice? Janet Kilburn Phillips said, there are no gardening mistakes, only experiments. And as some of you know, I have had, a series of grand experiments, but I also have had such joy. It was so funny when I was taking Yvonne around the garden yesterday, I found one strawberry on our way back. As we were going by, there was one ripe strawberry in the strawberries that I planted. And it was wonderful because I picked it and I brought it inside and I washed it. And I created a magnificent salad, I thought, made of the lettuce I have grown, here in my windowsill. I threw some mint in there. By the way, I really like mint in my salad now. And some basil leaves that I grown some basil from scratch. And then I put in the other things, the carrots and the peppers and everything else. But then I took the little strawberry and I sliced it and I said, as you eat this, every now and then you're going to get the unusual taste of mint, but then you're also going to get the sweet taste of one little piece of strawberry. And it was actually an incredible salad. And for those of you who saw me making crepes last week, I actually used the crepe maker to make the most incredible grilled chicken. I marinated it in soy sauce and lemon. And then I also put Dijon mustard in there. And I marinated that for probably half a day prior to cooking it. And then when we were sitting and chatting, I just cooked this chicken while we chatted, and I made the salad while we chatted. And, I had pre-made, I think in the States they call them twice baked potatoes, where you bake the potato and then you take the potato out. And I mixed it, funny enough, I mixed it with cheese. What do you call that cheese? What do you call it? Oh, yeah, cheese whiz. I've never done that before, but I thought, I know Yvonne likes cheese. So I mixed the potato with cheese whiz, and then put it back and topped it with homegrown chives. And then, I made it the day before. And then when she came, I literally warmed them up and put a few more chives on top. I want to tell you, they were very tasty. Oh, obviously I put some black pepper over it as well. The only thing that made it look yum. Right. So Samantha's saying, my experiments usually have to do with some sort of spacing mishap. There's so many zucchinis. Yes. I haven't got to that stage yet. I'm looking forward to that for next year. I've definitely learned a lot this year. The love of gardening is a seed once sown never dies, but never grows to the enduring happiness that the love of gardening gives. And so if you're saying, but I live in, I can't have a garden here, go plant it in your mind. All right. Jeannie's saying, I love twice baked potatoes. You have encouraged me today. I am cooking a pot roast right now, tonight. Wow, isn't that wonderful? Yeah, I must admit, I love twice baked potatoes. And I can remember at one time Benji coming to visit me when I was busy entertaining some other people. And it was so funny because I had twice baked potatoes on my barbecue warming up. And I made him whatever meat he wanted, but then I said, would you like a baked potato? And he said, what is that? And I said, it's a baked potato. And he said, doesn't look like, I said, well, I think you guys call it a twice baked potato. But he'd never had one. Isn't that amazing? And by the way, if you want to make really nice baked potatoes, I find just I use my oven as my cold storage. If a nice easy way to bake a potato is just literally take it like this and cut it this way. And cut it horizontally, and then just put some oil on top and put it in your toaster oven. Or if you're just doing a couple of them, I use my toaster oven, obviously. It saves the electricity people. But if you're doing it for a lot of people, obviously, if I do it for guests, if I will do it on my barbecue. And what I will do is I'll do it on my barbecue beforehand. And then I will just keep them warm until they arrive. But anyway, just to let you know, cutting them that way and cooking them with some oil and lemon. If you put a bit of oil and a bit of lemon on them, they're beautiful just like that. But obviously, if you're going to have twice baked, then you dig out the potato that's cooked. Maybe I should do one. Kez is saying, I don't have a garden, just a balcony with a few plants. So I like watching YouTubers who do have them, like Benji, seeing how passionate they are about theirs. Yes, and something, you can get passionate about yours. I'm going to give you a trick in a moment. Jeannie's saying York doesn't care for tomato sauce, so I substituted vodka sauce with pot roast, carrots, celery, and broccoli. It sounds very good, doesn't it? Judy's saying Alouette herb cheese is nice to mix with the potato for twice baked potatoes as well. Yes, so you see, everybody can be creative with, whatever it is that you want to be. And so I'm now busy at the moment working out how to grow potatoes during the winter. I bought some grow bags to see if I can actually grow potatoes this winter. I've got one potato that presently is growing that I will harvest towards the end of the summer or fall. But then I want to see, can I grow potatoes in the winter on my beautiful deck? So, this is going to be a whole winter of doing experiments like that. God Almighty first planted a garden, and indeed it is the purest of all human pleasures. I want to tell you that I have learned that you can take the seeds out of a spaghetti squash, which, by the way, was what that said, right? It was reminding me that I need to plant some spaghetti squash, but I still haven't found the seed. But I have found that, you can buy up a spaghetti squash and take those seeds and dry them, and they will grow. And I have done it. I haven't grown them into spaghetti squash yet. That is still a work in progress. But I have grown them, and they, it's just I haven't substantially learned how to keep them alive. Learning moment. And so the garden suggests there might be a place where we can meet nature halfway. I've sort of said to the bugs and the slugs in my garden, I hope you enjoyed breakfast. I hope that all my hard work, gave you an amazing breakfast. I think, you have to sort of do that. By the way, I opened up my compost because, I've got a compost bin, and there was a slug like this big in it. And I'm going, that must be a good place. I must have created a very safe place for slugs. Now, maybe I can convince them better to eat at the big motel than at my little seedlings. But I've learned, don't put your seedlings out unless you're going to protect them. Jody's saying, this gardening talk is so relaxing. It's the most zen I've felt since last Sunday this time. Thank you, Sal. It's a pleasure. Jeannie saying, Benji and Judy's girls are learning about the garden. They will be masters when they grow up. Do you know, it's funny, Jeannie, that I will send pictures to the girls. And part of my sort of communication with them is I will send them a picture and ask them if they know what flower this is or what vegetable this is. And it's amazing how knowledgeable they are. And so, it's interesting. Sandy was saying that everything that that Benji cooks looks wonderful. And Jody answered, well, Sandy, that's the truth. He's a great cook like Sal. Now, I have to tell you, I am not in that league. Benji actually reads instructions and follows them and prepares and does things. I think you all know my way of cooking is more of an experiment. What can I get away with? And I assure you that I don't normally put Dijon mustard with chicken. I've got to tell you that. But I happen to have some Dijon mustard in the fridge. And I thought, well, that would be interesting to find out what it tastes like on chicken. And, there was something, and I didn't have lime, which I normally would do with chicken rather than lemon. But I thought, okay, well, this is going to be interesting. Do any of you remember that I said I would try to do some fruit roll-ups, but put vegetables in them as well? Well, I did that, just so that you know. Now, let me think. Oh. In this one, I started with apple. And some lemon juice so the apple didn't go a nasty color. And then I added carrot because I had some that were about to get a bit old. Then I cooked up a little bit of leftover yam. And then So I cooked up the carrot and the yam so they were soft. And then I blended in the cooked apple and lemon. And I want to tell you, there isn't a child alive that would know that this isn't healthy. You know what I mean? I quite honestly, I don't think anybody would know that I had yam and carrot in here. Because what you taste is the apple and lemon. And good evening, Eve. And I want to tell you something. Do again. So Jeannie's saying, I'm rebuilding my supply of dry herbs. I now have cumin, curry, garam, masala, paprika, cinnamon, and I still need tarragon. Yes, you know, you are obviously a magnificent cook, but you know how to use all of this. Hi, Terrell. Good to meet you. Bye. This is amazing. Where are you people coming from? And welcome. The glory of gardening, hands in the dirt, head in the sun, heart in nature. To nurture a garden is to feed not just the body, but the soul. You see, I think going into a garden, be it in your mind, I have always had a garden of my mind because I haven't always been somebody that was able to garden, through various reasons, but I've always had a garden of my mind. And one of the greatest ways that I've found, and I would really recommend it for those of you who want to build the garden of your mind, is have a sweeping stone staircase that you walk down to get to your garden. And you know, it's amazing. I used to have, and I still do actually, when I walk down into the garden of my mind, I literally have this like almost, Downton Abbey type building that I leave. And I go down this incredible stone staircase. And there's something about walking down a staircase that also lowers your whole mentality, right? It just is so important that you do that. So, all right, so here we are. Eve saying, I used to love to be barefoot in my garden. So to me, it's really important that you understand why these things are so important, why it's so important to be able to visualize walking down a staircase. Now, I've said to you that part of what we're going to be doing for those that want to is I will actually put together some meditations based on this, because obviously you can already feel the difference, all right? But there is nothing that you cannot do in your mind. You know, if I think about somebody like Erin, she can grow her own garden in her mind anytime she wants to. And anytime that Lionel wants to be out of pain, it would be a really good idea for him to stand at the top of a staircase outside somewhere and look over green pastures and to the garden, maybe the garden below and the green pastures ahead. And then quietly take that walk down into the garden. And then in his mind, walk around the garden and touch the different bushes and flowers and walk past the water, and then walk on to where the river is flowing. How many of you, if I talk about where the river is flowing, how many of you can actually see a river in your mind? Yeah, Samantha's saying that growing a garden is so good for our children too. Yes, which is why I encourage, whenever I'm talking to Benji's children, when I talk to the girls, I always talk to them about my garden, and I always talk to them. I show them, Bernie the bean, or I show them how my lettuce is doing. I show them that I too am a gardener, because I want them to see that, it's something that we can all do. And, it's a bit like, if you give a man a fish, he eats for the day, but if you teach him how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Well, it's the same with the garden. I'm quite surprised that already my one neighbor has said to me, "You know something, Sal?" And I said, "What's that?" And she said, "I'm going to grow my own herbs next year." And I said, "That'll be such fun for you." And she has the most beautiful garden of store-bought flowers. Beautiful, right? Absolutely magnificent. But you know what is the most amazing thing? That she has this beautiful begonia hanging basket, and 2 birds came and built a nest in it. And it is literally sitting, hanging on their deck. It's not a quiet place. It is a place where they sit and talk all the time. But these 2 birds came and built a nest in the begonia hanging basket. And yesterday, when I was walking Yvonne outside my place, my neighbor came and said, "Sal, Sal, Sal." And I said, "What?" And she said, "I got birds." And, she literally, opened up her cell phone and she showed me video of bless their little hearts, these incredible, the eggs hatched, and there they were with their mouths wide open. And it was just like, "Oh, you gave birth. Isn't that beautiful?" And who would have thought that a bird would build a nest in flowers? But how many of you understand that that must have been a peaceful place for those birds? They must have heard that as a peaceful place. The fact that they were talking didn't disturb the birds. It actually made them feel peaceful enough to put their most precious eggs in that basket. He's saying recently in church, there was a talk of the seeds planted in different places, the dry ground or amongst weeds, places where the seeds die, then on good land where the seeds sprout. Well, if I may take that biblical analogy and go, sometimes the greatest seeds we can plant, Jeannie, are the ones in barren land, are the ones where, if ever you've been and walked down some really cement garden, if I can say that, if you've been in the city and you see suddenly that one incredible seed managed to find a crack in the cement and bloom. I don't know about you, to me, that is one of the prettiest sights in the world. So it's not always about finding the fertile ground. Sometimes it is about finding the speck of fertile ground in what is otherwise concrete. And I think that's an analogy we all need to think about these days, with all that's going on in our world. Let's keep finding the little bit of fertile ground and let's keep growing in it. Here's a saying, when I did my childcare placement, the kids loved digging in the dirt and looking at worms and holding them. Yeah. And how much do they learn by doing that? I can remember when this pandemic first started, the first thing I did was go and buy seeds, the ones I've now lost. And the amazing thing was this man standing in the lineup with me said, "What are you going to do? Grow your own vegetables?" So I said, "Yes. I mean, who knows what this pandemic's going to do?" And he said, "If I have to do that, I'd rather not be around." And I went, wow, he does not live a soulful life, does he? At Christmas, I no more desire a rose than wish a snow in May's newfangled mirth. But like of each thing there is a season grows. How about that, right? We each need to understand that there are better times to grow some things than others. Doesn't mean we can't grow them. My big experiment this year is to find out what I can grow in winter. Because I have so much sunlight in this environment here, what can I grow, not what can't I grow. Gardening is how I relax. It's another form of creating and playing with colors. I said to Yvonne, was it easy to identify my house? And she said, because she'd never been here before. And she said, oh, yeah. I just looked for the flowers because I knew there would be flowers. And I thought that was so cute. Eve saying, my granddaughters love to do that, right? And she said, I cannot stand to not be able to have a garden currently. I just have to love up my indoor houseplants. Yes. And what I've decided this year, Eve, I'm going to grow lettuce as my houseplant. There is something about the taste of homegrown lettuce. And I don't know if you know, but I've been teaching the viewers how I have been hydroponically extending the life of lettuce as well, which is great fun. All right, so Jeannie's saying, I'm attempting daily to plant peace of heart instead of worry. Yes, we have to. I quite agree. And so, it was so funny. Let me just grab these so that you can see. So this is a butter lettuce that I have, eaten most of the lettuce from. But you can see it's still growing. And then this one is very special to me. I actually grew this one from seed. Who knew that lettuces were so difficult to grow from seed? But you know something? I will not be beaten. Kez is saying, yeah, they learned a lot because they had a worm farm. Yes, I think it's really important to understand, how nature works. For those of you who know my son, Dougie came and weed whacked the top section of my tiered garden because it's dangerous for me to be up there. It's too steep a bank. It's like this. And so Dougie doesn't want me up there weed whacking, so he comes and does it for me. And, there's an awful lot of grass and dandelions and everything else that get chopped down when he does it. And what I do is I keep all that in a bag and I feed it into my compost. All right. Because it's just, and I was teaching Dougie, all right, this is wonderful because what I do now is I put a big layer of green, which will attract all the bugs and worms and everything else. And then I put a layer of brown, which is shredded paper and other stuff from the house. And then another layer of green. And what will happen is the worms will keep going towards the green and they eat their way through the brown, as they call it, right? Does that make sense to people? Samantha's saying, she sure did. Every day, my girls and I take pictures and look at the growth of our plants so that we can see life and growth ourselves daily. I want to tell you, in this uncertain time, this is a great gift to give children. Jody is saying, Cares, my mom was a teacher and she always made sure her classes had an ant farm. Yeah, very important. Samantha says, Mama Sal, I'm obsessed with growing plants out of existing plants. I have so many follicle and grocery store clippings in my window. Okay, so you've now got my bug, right? And for those of you who don't know, let me just show this from a different thing. So if you buy butter lettuce, it comes in its own like little. This came in yesterday. So you will see that it comes. The leaves are falling off here. Okay, so it comes with its own little pot here, and this is enough lettuce, quite honestly, to feed me for a few, probably a week of lettuce. But then what I do, just so that you guys know, for those of you who don't know, I then put that little container, okay, into this with holes in it, and then I keep filling up the water. And this one is a seed that I grew inside a toilet roll. So I use toilet rolls as my new, but isn't that looking healthy? I'm actually very proud of that. And for those of you who might have been here, I just want to put that lettuce in water so that it doesn't shrivel and I can eat it tonight. Just hold on 1 second. For those of you who were watching me grow Tommy the tomato, he's looking really good. He's outside now. And I just want to tell you that he's doing really well. Thank you for indulgence here. Okay. And that'll keep it crisp. I think there is something truly enriching of our souls when we grow things, and it doesn't really matter what it is. You know, some friends of mine just got a new puppy. How much joy did they just bring into their life? And also devastation, but how much joy did they just bring into their lives by bringing a puppy in? And what they said is, you know, it's like built-in entertainment. If there's anything that takes you out of yourself, it's a puppy, right? And so they will be nurturing and growing this puppy. See, it's all the same thing. It was said that when the world wearies and society fails to satisfy, there is always the garden. One of the reasons I want to learn how to garden here is because I wanted to have influence on other people. That really growing a few of your own things isn't a bad idea in these uncertain times. And one thing that we have in this little community in which I live, be it that we have a lot of retired people like myself, but they all have little gardens. And what I wanted to do was to be that person who showed them that, you know, you can have great fun with vegetables. The other funny thing was my neighbor on the other side, who also wasn't a vegetable gardener, she was definitely a flower gardener as well, suddenly said, hey, I'm thinking on my big bank there of growing pumpkins. And I'm going, what a great idea. You know, so without really meaning to, I have had influence already. I grow plants for many reasons, David Hobson said, to please the eye or to please my soul, to challenge the elements or to challenge my patience. Oh, I know that one. For novelty and for nostalgia, but mostly for the joy of seeing them grow. For those of you who watched me plant the rose that my sister gave me, one of the things I had said that when I moved to this place was I was going to ask people not to bring me useless housewarming presents. If they really wanted to buy me something, you know, for my new house, be it a peony or a rose, so that I could have this incredible garden of peonies and roses every year. And, the incredible thing is that my sister bought me this rose that, or she, sent me the money to buy a particular rose that I wanted. And it has actually created 3 buds, and one of the buds is about to flower. Now, it's a really expensive rose. I don't mind telling you. I never thought that I would pay that much money for a rose. Well, I didn't, I guess. Somebody else did. But, it's like, I can't wait for it to flower and show you a picture. How about this one? There are always flowers for those who want to see them. You see, that's life, isn't it? Some people will only ever see the weeds, and some people will see flowers in weeds. I think it's really important that we understand that. I like gardening. It's a place where I find myself when I need to lose myself. I have 2 times in the day when I go out and walk my garden. You understand, I have a very small amount of land here, very small. But I use that as my fresh air time. Do you guys have fresh air time? Where you literally say, I'm going for a walk now. I need fresh air. Or I'm going to go and look at the garden now because I need fresh air. And it doesn't matter if you have your doors open all day long. This is about, I need to go out now and see the world from a different perspective. I love that. The garden is always a series of losses set against a few triumphs, like life itself. And that is why it's so important to teach children about gardening. Beth said, I see weeds first. Now, Beth, your talent is turning dirty into clean, right? You get great joy out of turning dirty into clean. And I want to tell you, Beth, you were certainly on my mind this week. Because one of the things that I did, and I just wonder for my viewers watching at the moment, or maybe those watching on the replay, how often do you clean the toilet tank? Beth, do you have any wisdom on the best way to clean a toilet tank? Because I want to tell you something. I lifted the lid on the toilet tank in this new house of mine, and I wanted to throw up. So, and then I went, okay, let me think about this. What have I got? And, one of the interesting things was I obviously thought, well, what if I huck some bleach in there? Will that help? And then I'm going, yes, it will help, but it will also destroy a lot of the rubber if it stays in there for too long. So I did start with a cup of bleach. And yes, Samantha's saying, oh, admittedly, I've never cleaned mine. And that's why I thought I'd mention it today. It's just like, and then Eve's saying, a brush. Yep, I did that. And by the way, I use my toilet brush because I don't know about you. I didn't want to get any other brush near that gunge. Right, Beth is saying, I use non-bleach tabs once a month. So, yeah, good to know. So if you could, do you know the name of them? Because I'm certain I'm not the only one that wants to know what the name is of that stuff. Right. Beth was saying that she will see the weeds before flowers in anything in life. No, she'll see a problem before she sees the solution. But, and says, is she weird? No, I think you're a problem solver, Beth. I think you need to, well, I don't think, I know you're a problem solver. Oh, so it's a Dollar General generic kind. Okay. So it's a non-bleach toilet cleaner that we're looking for. And that won't harm the rubber. That's good. You know, the gaskets they're in there and things. Now, what I did also try, because Beth, you know, it's me, I love to experiment. I found that spraying it with scrubbing bubbles worked quite well. You know, I sprayed scrubbing bubbles in there and let it sit for a while. And then I took the toilet brush and I cleaned it. It's looking a whole lot better. But it's good to know that you, and I think, you know, the big thing is, I'm pretty sure that if I did it regularly, that problem would never happen. So that is now on my, you know, sort of monthly list, is to lift up that tank and lid and just give it a good brush. And I guess if I did that, it probably, you know, it probably wouldn't ever be a problem because the gunge wouldn't have chance to work. Right. So Beth is saying, I clean bathrooms 2 times a week. That's why I knew you would be an expert on this subject for me. All right. Anybody else? Yes. Now, Eve, I found a completely new use for scrubbing bubbles, and I'm gonna show that on Friday. It's going to be part of my tips for Friday. Hi, Lola. Good to see you. Scrubbing bubbles has a tablet as well. I didn't know that. Thank you, Lola. Beth saying, if one of those days falls on my working day, then Charles to the rescue. Yes. So I'm hoping that some of you are glad that I asked Beth the question, you know, and some of you going, oh, should I clean in that? Oh, Samantha suggesting maybe we should throw some acid, you know, citric acid like lemon in there. And again, I'm worried about the damage it would do to the rubber elements. But, you know, what we'll try and do, Jody, let's do some research this week. How about that? Because obviously this is a subject about which people are interested. Let's see what we can find about non-harming cleaners for the toilet tank. And then also, let's do a whole thing about different uses for scrubbing bubbles. All right, so Beth is saying alcohol is hard to come by. Sad, isn't it? The lesson that I have learned and wish to pass on to others is to know the enduring happiness that the love of a garden gives. Now, I don't know if any of you can relate to this. I even have part of my life where I go, I'm feeling a bit angry now. So I have a digging place in my garden, you know, an area that I am digging up and turning into a garden because it was just a mass of weeds when I got here. And so, you know, it's just like every time I want to let off some anger, I go and dig in my digging place. Yeah, and now people are remembering the value of vinegar. Yeah, I use vinegar. And, you know, it's so funny because so many people said to me, oh, I hate using vinegar. I hate the smell. I'm going, did you try dropping a little drop of vanilla essence in there? Maybe? Or even, I want to tell you, if you don't want to do that, just a drop of Dawn or 2. You know, it doesn't smell like vinegar anymore, people. So yeah, we'll do a program on those sort of those sort of things. That's good. Thank you, guys. Gardeners, I think, dream bigger dreams than emperors. Yeah. Orange peels, I've done that. That's interesting. Orange peels. I actually dropped orange peels into vinegar. Hold on. I dropped orange peels into vinegar and now have a very tight, there we go, orange cleaner. And by the way, it smells almost honey-like. So anybody else do that? And it's great for, yes, I literally will put some in a bowl with some water and clean my microwave, absolutely. And anyway, so we're going to do that, right? We'll do it on Friday. So Sunday, people. Don't let's get too excited about cleaning right now. So we really are funny people. How many of you are getting quite excited about cleaning this week? And all because I talked gardens. Weeds are flowers too, once you get to know them. I think some of the prettiest, I often wonder, is a poppy a weed or a flower? Yeah, Samantha says, my dollar store has been the constant source of rubbing alcohol here, but that is probably more to do with my local area than anything. Ah, interesting. Kez is asking, would bicarb of soda work in the tank? All right, so Beth, what do you think? Beth is our go-to for cleaning. She really is an amazing source of information. Okay. Can we write a quick note on that one, Jody? Let's find out. Can we use baking soda, no, bicarb of soda in, I would think if you made a paste, I'm thinking if you made a paste, and just put it there and let it dry, the worst crud, if I can use that word, is on the top level of the water, right? That's where all the crud really goes. Yeah. So, to me, it's about this is what I love about doing Dear Mama Sal. Right? We all learn with one another and from one another, and we all get the information we need at the time when we need it. And to me, that is the joy of doing what we do. So one of the things that I did notice that I did is when I did spray the scrubbing bubbles in the tank, I left it for about 15 minutes, I would think, which I thought was probably long enough for it to do what it needed to do. And then I flushed the toilet, and then I spritzed with a water gun all the scrubbing bubbles away, flushed it again, and kept doing that to make sure that if there were any harmful chemicals in the scrubbing bubbles, I'm still not quite sure what is in scrubbing bubbles, but I'm pretty sure it's fairly toxic. That is my sense, but I could be wrong. There we go. Beth is saying, if I get a ring of crap in the tank, I use CLR hard water remover. 1 cup and it's gone. Yes, I'm pretty sure that part of my problem is that I am on well water, and that would also add to the crud. All right, so Jody already has an answer. Add at least 1 cup of baking soda to your toilet tank, followed by another 2 cups of vinegar. Ensure that it produces the fizzing action. You should then let the solution soak for at least 10 minutes. That's what I did with the scrubbing bubbles. Thank you, Jody. But you can do it. There you go. So, Jody, can you hang on to that and we'll repeat it again next week? On Friday when we do cleaning stuff. Beth, any wisdom that you can give us about bathroom cleaning? I am certain people will be delighted to hear. Yes, well water has an incredible amount of minerals in it. And, that is why I'm getting all sorts of challenges. I can put as much dishwasher stuff into my dishwasher, rinse aid type stuff, but it still isn't enough. It'll still come out with water spots on it. And what I found is you actually I need to put a plastic container. If I'm doing a lot of glass type stuff or a lot of black plastic type stuff, I will put a container with a cup of vinegar in it and leave it there for the whole wash. And then it seems to work pretty well. Interesting. Lolo's saying you can use denture tablets. That's a very clever idea. Right. And Beth is saying, I use CLR in my coffee maker once a month too, because it gets the hard water deposits out of it. I do my coffee maker every season. Yeah. So Eve, rinsing in the shower. I've actually made up my own shower type. I don't know if it's here. It was here yesterday. No, I've made up my own shower mixture, and it's working pretty well. So, and we do have. So, Beth, perhaps you could let us know shower stuff as well, for hard water. If you have experience of that as well, that is awesome. And so Samantha is saying, I bet if you can use denture tabs, then bicarb should work as well. Yep. So here we go. You see an interesting bicarb and then vinegar, and that will cause the scrubbing bubbles type effect. It fizzes. We like the fizzing. Jody's saying, what a bunch of magnificent smart cookies. And if you think about it, we started off talking gardens. You see, what I love about DearMamaSal is that we cover so many different topics in a heartbeat, right? And it's not like a little moment, it's like in a huge moment. And to me, that is what makes it such fun. But I would again say, for those of you who suffer from pain, from those of you who suffer from stress, from those of you who are losing control a little bit, do what makes you happy. And I have to tell you that spending 4 hours with Yvonne yesterday made me so happy. And I took the risk and I let her into my house because she had never seen it. And I was so happy that I did, because she and I together came up with so many great ideas for things. And she came up with a magnificent idea in my studio that really, she is right. So clever. Sandy saying, can't wait for Friday's skills broadcast. Great. Jeannie's saying scrubber bubbles has a lot of ammonia chloride. Yes, that's what I thought. It has to have something pretty toxic in it because of the work it does. And that's why I wanted to say to you, I found a couple of uses for that, because I did experiments. I did a couple of uses for that, and I'm going, wow, why didn't I know about that 20 years ago or 50 years ago even? But I definitely have found some very good uses for it, and, which will only up its value in my life. But if we can create the same thing just by mixing bicarb of soda and vinegar, then that's a nice way to do it as well. So Beth says, hack to never get hard water in shower store walls after you clean it, then dry it and use turtle wax. Yeah, I've got some special stuff like that. So, but what about all right, but hang on a second, Beth. What about the glass? Can I put turtle wax on the glass as well? Well, that's magnificent, Beth. This is why we need you. This is why I said to you, we need your input every week, not the glass. Okay, it's the glass that gives me the problem. So what do you do for the glass when you've got hard water? I have tried just about everything I can think of. And what I've realized, I'm doing I want to tell you, when I first came here, the glass in my shower stall was, really a problem. But you're even using scrubbing bubbles didn't get it all off. Yeah, Kez is saying, I love how these live broadcasts give us these light bulb moments. Yes. Oh, interesting. Beth is saying she never had a glass shower door. I don't have a tub in my master bathroom. I just have a shower with glass doors, which is why it's driving me insane. Now, you know what else happened? Now, some of you will laugh about this. What it also had was the tiniest gap between the shower door and a wall. And over the years, moisture had obviously dripped down that tiny crack and caused, that water rust color thing that you get from, it had caused this horrible look between the edge of the shower and the wall. Now, it literally was about this thick, the gap. And I want to tell you, I stood in the shower and I kept looking at it going, Sal, you are creative. How do you fix this? And the most incredible thing was it took me about 3 or 4 days of looking at it as I showered, going, I don't want to keep looking at that. It's driving me insane. And you know what I did? I found some leftover wallpaper and I cut wallpaper and I slid it into that. So now I look at the wallpaper, not the crud. How many of you are going, smart move, so? Now, is the crud still behind it? Yes, but I don't have to look at it anymore. And it's not bad crud, it's just moisture streaks, but I didn't like it. So I changed it. The other thing is I can change my vista, I could actually have seasonal wallpaper. And how many of you go, yeah, any Sal? So I thank you all for playing this game with us, because you see, this is how we learn things. And this is how we don't overwhelm ourselves with knowledge. We just go, this week, let's learn about this. Yeah, saying, Beth, you should write a book about cleaning tips. Yeah. Now, you just stay here and give it to us. We'll share it. Easter is 8 months and 25 days away, which is pretty scary, isn't it? And Valentine's Day is just 7 months and less than a week away. Christmas is now down to 165 days away. Has anybody started their Christmas shopping? Yeah, Samantha's saying, learning is a lifelong adventure. So is gardening. Right? And this is why I'm saying that if you make life a lifelong adventure, how many of you know that I get most of my fun out of trying little experiments? Hi, Jonas. Big hug to you, honey. Beth is saying they've already set up Halloween in her store. Can you believe that? Beth, did you decide to wear a button saying I'm not allowed to wear a mask medically? Did you get that one solved? For those of you who don't know, Beth is actually the only viewer of whom I am aware that has already had the COVID-19. But Beth has other medical problems that makes wearing a mask very difficult for her. So she basically is not meant to wear one. But she's getting a lot of flack from her customers because she's not wearing a mask. I'm wondering whether a shield would work, so you could still breathe normally, but you've got the shield then, but you've got the gap between you and the shield. Have you thought about that, Beth? I actually have one on order, and I'm looking forward, because one of the things I really miss about people wearing masks is you can't see their smile. And I think that's the greatest gift we have to the world. Yeah. And you know what? I really would suggest that, even if you go and go to your stationery section and, get one of those plastic file insert things, that you could put in a binder and just make a mask out of it. I think you would find it easier. I just think that the shields are a better way to go, quite honestly. It's a lot better protection. And I think, you can still see people's body language, which is very important. And that's why I am moving towards that. We have got just 4 months to get our overseas mail overseas cards into the mail for Christmas. Isn't that amazing? Thanksgiving, for those of you that celebrate American Thanksgiving, is just 4 months away. In Canada, we're only 3 months away because we hold ours in October. So the good news is, for those of you who've been following Mercury in retrograde, it's now out. Thank you. So we can breathe again, and we can't blame it all on Mercury anymore. Okay, so Beth is saying, my husband makes the shields with his 3D printer. He gives them to students at the college. Well, hello, have you tried wearing one, Beth? Very important. Jonas, it's always a pleasure to see you, honey. How are you doing? Let us know. So, for those of you who've been following my journey here in my house, I have now lived here for 6 months and 2 days. Isn't that amazing? And I've learned a lot, and I am about to go from summer into fall. So I've got 2 more seasons to really experience here. I came at the end of winter, so I do know what winter is like in this place. And so now it's a case of, let me find out what, the day that we announced summer, the weather changed and we got really lots of rain. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me see here. All right, so Beth says that the shield messes up her hair. Boy, I'd rather mess up my hair and be safe, but that's just me. I am certain that you can put it like this and then put, like a wig, all right? You could put it on so that it is around this part and then put your hair over the top of the band, is a thought that I would have. Jonas is saying, I'm doing very good right now. Good. Just trying to keep level head about everything. Every day brings about new lessons. I want to tell you, Jonas, now that you have learned that life is an ongoing lesson, that you will not have, I don't believe you'll have the problems the way that you did before. You see, when you can see life as, okay, this is just another little, lesson here. Can I control it? I was talking yesterday to Yvonne about the fact that she and I together gave up smoking in the same year. And she gave up before I did. She gave up in the September of 2012, and I gave up on January the 12th of 2013. So we were, within that space. And, her father recently died. And I said to her, did you smoke? She's now lost all her parents. And her father was, she was definitely Daddy's little girl. And I said to her, did you smoke? And she said, no. Got close, but I didn't. And she said, what kept me from not doing it was I knew that one puff would be one puff too many. I said, good. And she said, I knew that if I smoked, maybe you would too. And I said, good. And, in other words, that she has learned that this is really important. Really important. That one puff is one too many. we would be back smoking again in no time. Jeannie saying, we're getting back important items. You know, Jeannie who lost everything in the fire, like real maple syrup. Yes, I think, you know, this is part of it as well, Jeannie. You're going to know that everything in your pantry is going to be within its expiry date. I don't know about the rest of you, but there's part of me that goes, I think I'd be a bit horrified to go through my cupboard and find out how much is still within the expiry date. Now, I'm pretty certain that some of you rotate well enough that that's never a problem. You know, but I really sure that that life. You know, I keep thinking that with Jeannie and York, you know, this is life starting all over again. And so I would say to you all, you know, take every day as a lesson. And by the way, if you failed, if you failed life yesterday in some way, you know, just go, okay, I get to start again today. I had a real problem with edema, you know, my feet swelling up yesterday. My legs looked like tree trunks and I could hardly walk, which was very unfortunate considering I had visited. But, you know, I just went, it's up to me now. Do I want to carry on with this problem or am I going to do something about it? And the reason that it happened was because I was wearing my flip-flops. For some reason, I found out that wearing my flip-flops creates, exacerbates the problem. I don't think it creates the problem, but my feet don't, my blood doesn't circulate as well. All the liquids in my system don't circulate as well when I'm wearing flip-flops. So wearing good shoes is important to me. Yeah, Sandy, you and I live in the same world. Bless you. Thank you for making me feel so much better. Sandy's saying, oh goodness, every time I find something expired, I think, geez, didn't I just buy that? All right, so Kez is saying, in Australia, there are a group of students, uni students, who make PPS shields from a laser cutter. So it's lighter and quicker to make. Yes, I think that we're going to have a lot of very innovative inventions coming up. You see, anything that is a problem has an answer. And it's a case of if we will all get the answers that we want. I found it interesting because one of the things that I asked Yvonne was, you know, do you have an N95 mask? And she said, oh, no. No. And I went, I think you need, you know, I think I'd feel happier if you had one. And she looked at me and said, how did you get an N95 mask? I said, and then she looked at me and went, I know how you got it. China, right? And I said, yep. And I said, before they told us we couldn't order them, I had already ordered them. You know? And, you know, it's just like, I think that, you know, we are creative people. And, you know, because we've always said right here at DearMamaSal, be prepared, not scared. Okay? Be prepared, not scared. So if we know that the pandemic is going to continue for the next 6 months or a year, if we know that a vaccine might not, the first one that they tried to give us might not actually work. They've put a lot of money behind it, but nothing has said that it's going to work. So if you think about it, this is our new normal. Get used to it, right? And find out ways to be at peace with it. Because we could be living this life for the rest of our lives, for all we know. And how many of you have noticed that the sky is more blue? How many of you have seen that the oceans are more clear? There's a lot less garbage being thrown into the oceans at the moment. You know, there are so many great things going on because of the lockdown. And so, you know, I look at it and go, this is a wonderful learning time, if we want it to be. This is a wonderful time for friendship. How many of you have been so grateful to be able to come here with the DearMamaSal extended family and just talk stuff, right? And come up with great ideas and go, oh, you know, let's go and try that this week. I want to tell you, I don't think I would have learned how to make these snacks There's a reason why they call them leathers, by the way. I found that if you, it's like, I actually put a little bit in my mouth and, I would never have learned how to make leathers had it not been for the lockdown. And by the way, for those of you who've been following my journey, I believe my new freezer arrives this week. Now, Jody, I keep hearing you tell me when the new freezer arrives, don't turn it on for 48 hours. Is that correct? I think you said 48 hours. I swallowed that before I should have done. It's a bit bigger than it should have been. Samantha saying, I personally am so grateful to have found you. Or my circle was getting small these days and expanding it was exactly what I need. You see, that's what exactly the point that I'm saying. Hi, Rinsky. Good to see you. That's the point I was saying, Samantha. In this day and age, we don't have to be lonely if we don't want to. Right? Okay? We don't have to be lonely. Aren't we glad for all the platforms, FaceTime, Zoom, YouTube, everything? Aren't we so lucky? Imagine trying to do this lockdown without any of the technology. So I look at it and go, it is really important for us to be grateful and to use the technology we have. I want to tell you, Nyasha just came in. Now, for those of you who don't know, Nyasha is all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. We have been able to help Nyasha in immeasurable ways, just because we have knowledge that she needed. And we have been able to support her in helping her find things that she needs to find. Why? Because we're part of an extended family. So, Nyasha, how was your goddaughter's birthday? It was her goddaughter's first birthday today, which is why she wasn't here for the broadcast. So I hope it was wonderful. And if you think about it, people, we are in the business here at DearMamaSal of growing people, right? We teach people how to cope with love, with life, and with any other problems that happen to come along. And I say that because sometimes, it seems like there are more problems than just life, right? And so to me, this is what we do, is to hold one another's hands. What I love about being part of DearMamaSal, and I am merely the voice of it, you guys are what gives it the oomph. But the interesting thing to me is that it is a constant changing group of people. Some of us, like, Jody and Beth and something, are pretty constant, that you're part of the fabric of it. But, the truth is that it is the diversity. Jonas, comes in whenever he can, and it's always a pleasure to see him. By the way, for those of you who know Oz, I heard from Oz this week. He lives. Oz lives. He's still in Australia. He was just about to go back to Indonesia, and, they did the lockdown thing on him. So, it's, what can I say? So to me, this is like, let us continue to be grateful that we have each other and that we continue to hold each other's hands. All right, so Nia's just saying, yes, the party was great. I wasn't feeling great, but I had to show my presence regardless of my illness. Yep, exactly. And that's what we do, is we are beyond ourselves in a lot of ways. Rinsky, I had a crown fallout, so I had a dentist appointment tomorrow. I'm so nervous about going during this pandemic. All right, so Rinsky, let me just give you a moment. I would say that going to a dentist is one of the safest places you could go. I'm quite, whereabouts are you, Rinsky? I forget. Because, I was literally hearing from somebody this week that they went to the dentist and the whole way you go to the dentist has changed. And I just want to know where you are so I can give you, okay, you're in New York. Right, this happened in Canada, but I'm pretty certain New York will probably be similar. right? They are not letting you into the dentist office the way and sit in a waiting room. All right. You're now doing a lot of this online. All right. And they will tell you when you can walk into the office. When you walk into the office, or this is what happens in Canada now. When you walk into in fact, what they do is you in Canada, you drive into the car park and you let them know you're in the car park. And then they will send somebody to you to do all the check-in stuff with you directly outside. And then the thing is that they only let you into the dentist office when it's exactly the time you need to be sitting in a chair. So you literally walk straight in and into the chair. And a dentist office is already one of the safest places in terms of infection control, as far as I'm concerned. They have to be hyper vigilant about infection. And if you think about it, right? And so I would say, Rinsky, whilst I understand your concern, and I'm certain everybody would be concerned, that is least of my concerns, is going to the dentist. I want to tell you, weigh that up against going to the dollar store. I don't care how careful people are at the dollar store. You understand, you got people walking by, coughing, doing, even if they wipe down every package in the dollar store every hour, people are still walking past and touching things and coughing and doing whatever. So any store is a far greater risk. Interesting. Samantha saying, yes, so glad you talked about this. I had the procedure done last week and it was very much as you described. Rinsky, you're good to go, honey. You're going to be safe as far as we know. It's safer than you would be going to a store. Safer than you would be even, if I may say this, probably picking up your prescription at the chemist, at the pharmacy. All right, Niesha saying, remember I told you I didn't have a chance to enjoy my childhood. Well, I am enjoying it now through my goddaughter and adoptive niece. You know something? God has a funny way of bringing you these things. Remember, Niesha, I totally understand of what you speak. I never had an opportunity to have children. I was unable to have them due to medical reasons, and I got to inherit Benji, Judy as children. And I got to, they adopted me, and that gave me grandchildren. So I look at it and go, we can all have what we want if we look for it. All right. So, yeah, Rinsky, I am so glad that you came in to hear this. Take a deep breath and go, I'm safer than I think I am. All right. Sandy's saying, I need to do my lab soon. And that's a very nerve-wracking thought. You know something? I asked not to do mine, Sandy. I said to my doctor, I will go if you insist that I need to go. I needed to have my A1C done. I said, but I am testing every single day and I can prove it. And I am a little bit higher than I was, but I am still pre-diabetic. I am not out of there. And I would tell you if I thought I was in danger. And so therefore, I ask you, please, to be aware that I do not want to go. But if you insist that I do, I will. And he said, just promise me you will go, or would you please go before the end of the year? I said that's fair. And now I'm thinking I might actually go in August, because I think I'd like to go during the summer before we get into the fall, all right, to get it cleared. And then I probably got, a clear run through until January or something. So, yeah, Jeannie's saying York is going to see his doctor on the 20th, needs to catch up with him. I must admit that, if you have to see a doctor, then you have to see a doctor. My question was, do I have to have this test done? The same thing as I was meant to have an x-ray done back in March. 2 different x-rays done. I haven't had either of them done, right? Because they're not critical. They are just informational. Sandy's saying, yeah. So Sandy's saying that her doctor wants her to do them when you're comfortable. Yes. Her blood glucose meter gives an estimated A1C. That's interesting. Yes, you see, Rinsky is saying that it's great that my doctor gave me until the end of the year because I asked. Do you understand that, Rinsky? I didn't blindly just go and have an A1C done. I said, is it essential? Because I have 4 major issues. I am highly susceptible to the virus because I'm 73 next month. You know, I have a history of smoking and lung problems. You know, I am overweight. Let's be honest. You know that I am obese. And what's the 4th one? There's another one. But I have four things that makes me, highly at risk. Not just 1 or 2, 4. So believe you me. Yes, Jeannie, I think you're having 3 mini seizures. That's important. He see a doctor, right? That's not a maybe. That's not, oh, well, I'd like to know, how my blood pressure is. No, that is like, and by the way, if my doctor needed me to find out what my blood pressure is, I'd buy the machine. Okay. I've got lung issues, my age. Oh, pre-diabetic. I forgot that. Yeah, so lung issues, my age, 73 coming up, pre-diabetic and obese, right? 4 issues. Thank you, Jody. I know that helped me remember what the 4th one was. So this doesn't mean that I'm going to get it. It means that if I get it, it could kill me. So Samantha's saying that was very well put, Mama Sal. If you're feeling uncomfortable and it's not crucial, weighing your risk versus benefits is very important, as it is in life. What people don't realize, Samantha, is quite honestly, it is more dangerous to go out and drive your car, than a lot of these things, right? And yet we don't think twice about going out and driving our car. So, as in all things in life, ask yourself, do I have to do this? And by the way, my doctor can tell me that I have to do it and I still have a choice. Do you all understand that? Even if my doctor says, Sal, it is critical that you go, do you understand I still choose whether I go or not? That is my right as a human being. Right. And so I think it's really important that, if my doctor said to me, Sal, I really think you should do that, I would say, convince me. I can remember being in an ER once, and somebody walked in and said, we need to give you a spinal tap. Now, I looked at the doctor and I said, I got to tell you something. I've got to tell you that my limited knowledge of medical stuff, somewhere in my data bank, I do not have the word spinal tap and erotic experience in the same file. Whatever I've heard about having a spinal tap is not fun. Therefore, could you sell me on it? And he said, what? I said, could you sell me why I should have it done? Because what I hear is it's not a fun thing. And he was a young thing, and he thought I was stupid. But you understand my point. It's like, this isn't a fun thing, having your spine tapped into. So he then said, well, let me put it this way. If you don't have it done, you could die. I said, that's a pretty, good argument. Let me go and think about that. And he said, what? I said, I'm going to go and have in the days that I still smoked. And I said, let me go outside and give that some thought. And he again just looked at me like I was insane. I said, it's my body. I get to choose. Let me go and think about it. I'm scared right now. So I need to, think my way through to courage. And so what I did was I went outside and I had a cigarette and I gave myself a good talking to and said, okay, now stop being a wuss and go and have this thing done. Well, the funny thing was I went to go and have it done, and the young thing that was started to do it said to the nurse, okay, this isn't working. This is after he'd been trying for about 5 minutes. This isn't working. Bring me the bigger, fatter needle. And I looked at the nurse and I said, when you get a quiet moment with this new doctor behind me, could you explain to him why the words bigger, fatter needle do not instill peace and tranquility in a patient? You know, could you explain that to him? That maybe if he had said to you, could you go get me, you know, the S4 needle, would have been a whole lot more intelligent. And I want to tell you, she did everything she could not to burst out laughing. You could just see her. And she's looking at me and she's nodding. And I said, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Well, it turned out that I had a calcified spine. You know, you're probably not, since when was I normal, right? I've got a calcified spine, which means they can't just stick a needle through it and get to the liquid. And I ended up with the top guy in the region, who luckily was at that hospital and was on duty that day, thank goodness. And he came and he said to me, I hear you're a problem. I said, no, I'm not a problem. My spine is, but I'm not a problem. No. And he said, yeah, no problem. He said, by the way, I'm going to do this for you, and I'm the top guy in the region. And I said, that's nice to hear, but what I like is you also have a sense of humor. That makes me feel a whole lot better. And he said, yeah, I'm really good. I didn't get to be top of my tree here, he said, without being really good. And I said, I appreciate that. He says, and I'm going to tell you, the other guy, wanted to freeze you and do all sorts of things to do it. And I said, yeah. He said, I'm not going to do that. I'm that good. I'm saying, so you're going to go past all my nerves and stuff in my spine and not freeze me? And he said, yeah. And he said, and by the way, I'm not going to be able to go straight in. So I'm going to go in a little bit and take an x-ray and then see where I need to go. And we're going to do it in little stages so that make sure that I don't hurt you and also make sure that we get what we need. What do you think? I said, go for it. And so that's exactly what he did. And when he finished, he had the vial like this and he was shaking it. And I remember him saying, no, we're going to have to send this down to the lab. So you're going to have to wait for the official results on this. But just between the two of us, I'm off to go to the opera. But I want to tell you, there's nothing in here that's a problem. You're just fine. But you didn't hear that from me. I said, no, of course not. So here's what I want you to understand. We hold each other's hands, and that's how we grow. So I'm well over time here, but I want to say to you all, have a wonderful week. I want to say to you all, like Rinsky, you're going to have challenges. I've got to go to the dentist. Or, like Niesha, we've all got challenges going on. Jody and Lionel have got challenges. Salah's got challenges. Everybody's got challenges going on. But we can do this together. We can do this by just keep communicating what is scary for you, and let's talk through it. And let's talk about the fact that Sal lifted up the lid of her toilet tank and went, oh my goodness. But thank goodness Beth is in my life because she'll have some answers for me. This is DearMamaSal saying we grow when we learn together. It's not about one of us being smarter. We know that Beth is smarter than all of us put together in terms of how to clean. Why? She does it for a living. She knows what to do, right? And she is obsessive about being clean. Yeah, I want to talk to that person. But we've all got little bits of knowledge that we share, and that's what makes us grow. This is DearMamaSal saying, remember to look after one another because that's what we do. But most of all, please, remember you are important enough to look after yourself. Rinsky, thank you for talking about the fear, because the fear will probably make you more sick than the reality of going to the dentist. So the fact that you've allowed us to help you a bit with your fear means you'll be less likely to be vulnerable. Make sense? So remember to look after yourself and above all, be honest with yourself. That's being honest and not BSing yourself is the most important thing that you can do. Like a good garden, nurture yourself, water yourself, keep hydrated. All right. Blow in the wind, learn to bend as the elements hit you. Learn not to be rigid, learn how to sway in the wind. And learn that sometimes the thunderstorms will come and you will lose your leaves, as Jeannie lost her house. And you may be destroyed, as Jeannie's house was. But here's the truth. If, like Jeannie, you have solid roots, then you will slowly rebuild everything and life will continue. And you will learn so many lessons in that process. Thank you, Jeannie, for your comment. I appreciate it. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, thank you for being in my life. I appreciate it. Thank you for teaching me all that you all teach me. I appreciate it. I'm a better person for having you in my life. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, bye-bye for now.